we've had a question about what to do with early risers. And a couple of parents have written in about that, hoping for some advice on how to manage their kids who are getting up at 4:30 a.m. or 5 a.m. So I think this is a good time to, number one, look at the simple tips that are available, and that's what we call our toolkit. And number two, to look at how we can apply PSI-C and START here. So here's the should in this situation. The should is my kids should be sleeping till a reasonable human time in the morning. And what do? Whenever we feel a should, we sigh, slowly breathe out to move out of anxiety into that ventral vagus nerve, the calm and connected centers. See your child. See the situation. See what behaviors your child is manifesting when they do get up in the morning. Do they get out of bed? Do they come into your bed? What happens when they come into your bed? Are they rewarded for it? Do they get to stay? Do they get marched back to their room? See your child's emotions. See if they look angry. See if they look upset. See if they look scared. See if they look like they're enjoying themselves, irritating mommy and daddy. See if they're whining. And then, and only then, start. Now, in this case, would be a great time to pull into your start step. First, we want to see, we got to gather that real information about our kids. But then we need to pull into our start step some of the available advice from the toolkit, right? So the PSI-C and START process is all about you and your child and your leadership. But then the toolkit is where we keep all that extra great advice and pull from it when we need it, but using our own judgment and leadership to apply it. It takes advice that can become a whole bag of shoulds and moves it out of the should category into the tool category. Okay, so instead of the shoulds being in the driver's seat, you are in the driver's seat. Okay, so let me think about a couple of the tools that are available when we think about kids that won't stay in bed. One of these is putting the kids to bed earlier. It turns out that this has to do with the sleep architecture in our brains and our circadian rhythms. So apparently, especially in children, early risers are often having a disrupted sleep pattern. And if you put them to bed earlier, they often sleep longer. Now, what does earlier look like? Well, for many children, that means a bedtime as early as 7 o'clock, or even in younger children, even 6:30 p.m. So that's something to think about. But what if you've already done that? All right, let's look at light. The room needs to be 100% dark, and this is something that's a tough sell for a lot of people. When light comes into our room, it operates on our melatonin centers and it wakes us up. I doubt in the Midwest right now that light is a significant factor because it stays dark till very late right now. But in the summer, it can really be a problem. So I'm a big fan of blackout curtains, and you can find those a lot of places. And really moving away from the nightlight. The nightlight is such a problem. And considering one of those nightlights that turns off, right? So they can sleep with that Hug-A-Bear nightlight that turns off after 30 minutes. And sometimes that can be a reasonable solution. Avoiding rewarding their behavior when they get up in the morning. That's the key. They really need to be expected to stay in their room. And this is where I might see this very differently from you do. Maybe your goal is to get them to actually sleep. My goal is to get them to leave me alone. And again, that might be because I'm a slightly burnt out mama with older kids. I'm not really burnt out, but on the sleep thing, Okay, so this is where those okay to wake lights can be really helpful. Some families have installed lights on a timer that go on a certain time. Some have actually bought the okay to wake products. We tried the owl for a while with one of our sons. It turns on a green light at a time when it's okay for them to come out of their rooms. The problem with that was that the light, his sleep was so disrupted, the light wouldn't go on in the right period, so he just started to disregard it. So that didn't work for us. But I've had a lot of families that really swear by that. And this is where you're then going to want to do your best to effectively set a limit on what is going to happen if they don't stay in their room until the prescribed time, whether that's 6:30 a.m. or 7 a.m. If they are rewarded but for coming into your room, you're going to need to consider marching them back to their room, making it clear to them that this is what we're going to start doing, and then marching them back to their room every time that they come out. And this is where you have to fully commit. And this is where, if there's more than one parent or caregiver in the house, like grandma's involved, everybody has to respect this rule. Because if mom says no, but dad says, oh, I'm too tired, bring him in, we're over, we're done, it's over. So that's a consideration there. If you've tried all these things and you're not having success, then there's two locations for where the problem might be coming from. There might be an actual sleep problem, and it's really worth meeting with your doctor about that, about your child. Or it may be a more complex behavioral problem that needs to be dealt with in a bigger context. And again, that's a great time to sit down with your child's pediatrician. So I hope this was helpful. And remember, every time you feel a should, sigh, see, and start.